Hey everybody, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. Good to see you. Welcome to WordCamp Orange County. This is our 4th year attending the event, so it's always good to hang out in Orange County. So real quick, I just want to get a survey of the room here. So who in here in this room builds websites for businesses or is a website builder in general? Okay. Excellent. Who here is actually just a WordPress user, power user, or whatnot? Raise your hand. All right. So we have a decent spread of the room. Cool. Well, anyway, so what I'd like to talk about today is user experience for WordPress platforms. And the intro to that really is both sides, whether you're on the end user side of it or if you're creating websites or platforms for users. So before we start, a little bit about me. That's my face. My name is Cody Landefeld, and I've been designing and building websites for over 10 years and having a lot of fun. And I started using WordPress probably about 2006. And this was just about the time that people were kind of realizing that WordPress can be utilized as a content management system beyond just a simple blog. So that's when we started using it. So anyway, that's my background and a little bit about me. So let's go ahead and spend some time talking about user experience. And just to let you know, I want to get a good feeling for who's in this room because I really love to be at these conferences and get feedback. So don't be shy about participating or asking a question or throwing out a comment or whatnot, as long as it's positive though. Because my ego's on the line right now, so I just wanted to let you know that. So anyway, let's get right into it. So user experience. I think the challenge we have thinking about user experience is a lot of times the assumption is it goes towards aesthetics, right? We think about user experience and always design. I don't think we first think about user experience as the actual process or the feelings that people have when they use things that we build for them, or the experience we have on using things that people have built for us to use. Whether that's a website that somebody's created on a small level, or whether you're walking through an airport check-in or whatnot. Maybe that'll strike a nerve on user experience. So I think it's important when we start diving into this topic, if a lot of us in the room are building websites and building platforms for end users and our clients to use, it's really important to think about their experience and how they use them. So that consideration and that thought really has to carry us through in how we're going about creating things, or how we're even the feelings we have on using the things that we do. So really, again, as I kind of already have alluded to, user experience really has to matter for us. We as people who design and create things for WordPress, we represent a very important part of the digital landscape. WordPress, the numbers of adoption are astounding. As a lot of us have known in this room, we know that WordPress is widely adopted worldwide. There's significant, it's staggering. Like, I don't know what the statistics are because they keep changing, but it's like 70% or 80% of blogs or something like that are running WordPress. That's probably a very loose term, but when we think about why it's important for us for user experience and being WordPress people, we really need to consider that. We really need to know the importance of user experience, because we're the people that are really controlling and setting an expectation for people who would use the products that we use the platforms that we create, and also for the end users, for their clients. I asked the question before, but just as a show of hands, how many of us in here are primary building B2B, or like in a B2B space, we're building websites for businesses? Okay, great. So for us who are on the business-to-business side, focusing on doing services for businesses, we're not only thinking about the user, which is our business customer, we're also thinking about an end user, which is actually their customer. So again, we're not only creating a thing for our customer or our direct client, but we're creating things for their clients as well. So it's really important for us to consider those. So anyway, everybody tracking with me so far? All right, good. So just really quick, just to show you that I built a website at one point in my career. I figured I'd share a really quick case study on a client we worked on for an organization called Samaritan's Purse. So Samaritan's Purse, real quick background, they are a nonprofit faith-based organization that gives aid to a lot of missionaries and people all around the world who are in third world countries and have a lot of dire situations. And in this particular case, they had came to us and they were building an online video platform. And at some point, WordPress was decided to be used as the platform of choice to deliver videos. And we had an opportunity to work with them to build out a very accessible video delivery platform. So right off the bat, we knew that the focus and the idea for the website was to serve up tons of video. This organization does a lot of storytelling and shows a lot of experiences from their humanitarian work and mission-based work in other countries. So they really needed to deliver a lot of high-quality video. They not only needed to deliver that video, but it needed to deliver very well on every single device. So they knew that people are going to be watching on desktop, tablets, phablets, mobile phones, whatever device that has a different size screen or whatnot. So that was definitely something that required a lot of detail. And also third-party integration, something that was not necessarily coming out of the box custom fit or tailor-made for WordPress. So there were some very high-level concerns coming into this project. So in working with them, we learned a lot, not only about serving them, but also about their end user. We learned that based on the size of the organization and what they were wanting to do, automation was really an important feature that we really recommended for them to need, because they didn't want to spend their time going into WordPress and teaching everybody in the organization how to effectively post videos and whatnot. So we were able to automate the videos to go up and get put through some type of moderation and get put out to their end users. They had multiple people in the organization, levels of access, people that moderate, people that would be setting up different sources of video. And again, their end users were key because they really needed to catch on to the vision with this organization. And ultimately, they depend on the support from their users and from the people that are watching these videos and know about their organization for support. So really that was the challenge. So again, that's just a small case study of looking into a lot of the challenges that I believe that we all really look to solve for our clients. So in transitioning, from that case study on into something else, I want to look at a couple different personas in user experience that we might encounter in our consulting or in our businesses. And so this is a time when I don't want to spend the time listening to how great my voice sounds or whatnot, or listening to the sound of my voice. I really want to get some good feedback and turn this into a little bit more of an interactive experience as I share a couple of thoughts here. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple different personas as we move forward. Let's meet our first persona, a man who contemplates his entire life before using WordPress. Randy Userman. You like the name Userman? That's not his real name. No, it actually is. No, it's really not. So Randy Userman, he's in his 50s. He's done something all his life. He hasn't necessarily been a web pro or a graphic designer or a web developer, but he's now decided that he's ready for a change in his life and he's going to create an online business. And he happens to find out about WordPress, like many of our clients do, many people do. So first off, Randy decides that he's going to move forward with WordPress. Finds out about WordPress, reads some blogs. He might stumble on Chris Lemma's blog and find out, I can do this. I figured I'd give him a shout out since he was talking about his blog. Randy finds a theme that will associate with WordPress after he's kind of gotten a good understanding, and then he moves on to find some plugins. But then he starts to hit a wall. It was a quick ramp up after understanding, getting a few things. Maybe he's got hosting that has the one-click install, and he's off and running, and he starts to find a frustration. How many of us in here in this group have gotten an email from a guy like Randy before? That opens up an opportunity for us to really provide help for this user. Who would like to share an example of somebody who's kind of at this wall where they've installed WordPress, they've gotten their theme going and plugins going? What's a challenge you found with one of your clients at this point in their journey? Yeah.
It's actually me that I've hired a consultant. I can't get the back-end editor.
Okay. Very cool. So I planted this lady in my talk to share with you. No, I'm just kidding. So what's your challenge again?
I bought 2 themes for 2 businesses. One of them, the back-end editor popped up, so it gives me functionality that I need.
Okay.
And on the other theme, it's not there, and I can't find it.
Gotcha.
So I've had to hire a consultant to sit down and help train me.
Cool.
To find things.
Yeah, and that's of course a negative and a positive, because you can gladly you can find a consultant that can help you, but also it's good for your journey to understand exactly what your challenge is and how to move forward. So anybody else want to share from maybe a consulting side that what they've experienced with their clients? Yeah.
We have sometimes people will pick a weird theme or something that's not got some of the functionality, and they'll do something to it where we'll have to probably take it out. How do you explain that to somebody? We just go with a different theme, because picking a theme for a person is not easy unless you really know WordPress.
Oh yeah. So the challenge is somebody just picks a theme and they find all kinds of different challenges. Yeah, picking a theme in the WordPress landscape can be like the Wild West, right? Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. So it's a challenge because you find yourself on one website to get a domain, and you've bought a bunch of services you may or may not need, and then you find your place on a theme website, and you pick a theme that you kind of like that looks good. And there's a lot of challenges that surround that. Let's actually move forward into the next slide here that talks about some of the misconceptions that we're going to talk about. So the assumption being that a lot of end users, a lot of people that want to use WordPress for their business, they assume because something looks great, it's going to work well, right? We get a lot of emails, we get a lot of people that we hear from that get to that point where they've got a theme and it looks great, but it doesn't actually work well underneath the hood, or there's too much configuration to do, or they get everything working and the site's running as slow as molasses. I'll share one quick story. I had a client that we built a website for a nightclub, and their challenge, or they came through the door wanting to use a theme, and we had some discussion around this. We were getting to know their business, getting to know what to do with them, and so when we worked with the theme, we found that through the course of fixing the theme and getting everything optimal, they actually spent more money consulting with us and developing with us than they would have just having us design and develop custom. So that's probably a worst case scenario, but I'm sure you have a lot of war stories with that. Were you going to say something?
Just on that, because people will pick a theme,
yeah,
and then they'll find out about a plugin, they'll get really excited, and they'll load the plugin and find that the theme doesn't style the functions of the plugin and have it all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's a blessing and a curse, right? You're able to ramp up quickly on functionality, but the design. So Carrie Lee was saying, a lot of people get the theme they like, then they get the plugin choice, and they're kind of excited, and then it just doesn't mesh well together. So again, some of those misconceptions, and it really opens up an opportunity for us as consultants and people that work with WordPress to help serve people, or writing better blogs or setting expectations with clients so that they can have a better experience. So again, with those misconceptions, in keeping in line with our user Randy userman. So what's our natural reaction to tell Randy what to do? I think, in frustration or knee-jerk reaction, we think that, there's certain things we tell them to do. Well, maybe Randy should learn how to code. Well, we know about Randy, okay? He's in his 50s. He's been an insurance adjuster. He's not a technical person, although he wants to build a business online. So should he drop everything and learn to code? Maybe so. But maybe just the case is in a short run, he needs somebody to consult with him. He needs somebody to hold his hand. As just a brief aside, these are the types of things that we can learn about our clients in learning about user experience. A big part of user experience is understanding empathy for our users and their end users as well. So really taking note of the feelings and the things that they experience on using these platforms. We can take this information and learn how to better serve people. And if we're consulting in WordPress and we're dealing with clients, it can even help us write more articles on how to set expectations for other people. One of the things that we're really working on doing with our organization is learning from our client experiences and writing those. So even putting all that chunk of information, a series of blog posts to send to clients to kind of get them ramped up on an experience of working with us, or maybe if they're just going to do a short run project or whatnot. So that's really helpful for us. Even if it's not work that we enjoy, it's really good to know how to serve people better. So, at this point, Randy's stuck. We're considering what options to go or what to suggest to him. Is there anything not on the list or anything that you guys would recommend that Randy should do at this juncture that's not here? Yeah.
Sometimes I suggest to clients that they go check out beginner tutorial videos like WP 101.
Oh yeah.
I think what people don't realize is that to use WordPress, you have to know how to use WordPress. Like buying a theme, it doesn't mean you don't have to have any technical knowledge whatsoever to make a website.
Right.
You still have to learn how to use WordPress, or you can hire someone to do it. Those are really the only two options. So WP 101 is great because it takes you step by step through how to create a page, how to create a post, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, WP 101, absolutely. We recommend that to clients all the time because I think it's funny, on the consultant side, we use WordPress so often we imagine that every user really can just get in easily and use it. But it's funny, and maybe you guys can relate, you still get those calls from clients and well, can you just publish this post for me or publish this page for me or change this? Still get those calls, and that's cool. That's a learning experience for us to better serve our clients and know them better. Somebody? Yeah.
I build custom themes for my clients, so there's a lot of stuff in there that's unique to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I include 2 hours of free coaching just for basic WordPress for any of my clients because a lot of times, as he was saying, they don't understand the difference between the theme and what WordPress comes like out of the box.
Absolutely. Yeah, including time for training once we built them a custom theme. Also the follow-up. That's something we've been guilty of at times, not following up as quickly because depending on the size of the organization you're working with, they don't understand exactly what their challenges are as it relates to their business with how they use WordPress. And we have to follow up and help set those expectations for them. So it really comes down to service for us. And I think that's a thing that admittedly we've done a bad job in the past is not providing good service and a service from a place of empathy with our clients. Really understanding their challenges, really understanding their goals, and how do we fit in with helping them meet all those goals. So good stuff. So again, I think this is, on keeping on the topic of empathy and keeping on the topic of service, we need to really consider how we help those people that get, frustrated or feel like giving up or whatnot. We really need to think about how do we help set the expectation or how do we follow up with them. And I think that really will go a long way for us, not only in the standpoint of building, project-based work, but also platforms. So I know some of us in this room are building platforms. How many of you how many people in this room are building products for WordPress? Raise your hand. All right. So there's definitely space in that particular instance for the product people to be thinking about how are the people going to use these products, what's their experience going to be like, and then even soliciting feedback or building in more training. I think that as you ship products or as you create products, even building in a layer for maybe a concierge type service or a hand-holding service where people want to get in and they get to that point of frustration and they end up hiring a consultant to help them either for a short run or a long run depending on what they can do. So it's really helpful for us to know that, how to set expectations for that. So kind of what we've been covering so far, we really need to understand our users. There's a great website out there called usertesting.com. Is everybody using that website or using something like that, usertesting.com? It's actually where they you actually engage these folks to take a video of themselves using the websites that you're building, so that they have actually take a video and talk out loud about the challenges they're having. So it really helps us inform how to make better products. I had a conversation last night with Joel and Lance from Automatic about how poor the iOS apps are for Automatic, or the WordPress apps, and are just some of the misconceptions, and giving really honest feedback. And I think Automatic's doing a really good job because they have some of that process inside of their organization to understand how well things are built, or the frustrations users have. But these are the things that we really need to be thinking about, knowing our users, knowing their frustrations, and then soliciting good feedback, knowing what their constraints are. And I think if we ask more questions, we get to understand the type of users and the clients that we're working with. That will really help us provide good service overall. How are we doing on time? Good to go? All day? Okay. All right, so let's look at the next persona. This guy just looks like a prince, right? So the next user, totally different guy. Rich Buserman, which is that's actually not a real name either. Rich Buserman's in his 30s, and this guy's a lot different than Randy. Randy was a guy who's was career guy. What looks for a change in his life, but Rich is more newer to the business world. He's got his MBA. He's a smart guy, entrepreneur type. He wants to be an entrepreneur. He's got some startup capital, maybe even some funding from somebody, and he's ready to go out and build a business or build a platform, and finds out about WordPress. So let's look at the types of things that Rich wants to accomplish and how we can help him. So Rich goes out, instead of the do-it-yourselfer. Rich is not a do-it-yourselfer. He's a businessman. He understands in his mind that he's going to get farther if he can focus on taking his vision into his business and building it bigger. So he hires a development company like ours or like yours, and he works with them to help him plan, design, and build something involving WordPress, some type of online platform. And then we realize quickly that Rich is not the type of individual that understands technology. Although he's maybe a smart business person, he doesn't understand how to lead the project. And this is a roadblock that we can find when we've even removed that constraint of maybe even money, or we remove the constraint of fighting our clients for the opportunity to do more for them. We find this particular challenge that Rich now is at a point where we've learned enough about him that we know that he cannot lead the project. So one of the misconceptions that he has. Well, let me back up a little bit. So let's have a short discussion about this. So at this particular challenge that Rich has, we as a consultant realize that he cannot lead the project. What can we do for Rich? Whether we're beginning to work with him or we're just kind of doing discovery, what can we do to better serve him at this point, to better lead the project and set expectations for him? And then you guys, this is all over the board, so anybody can throw out some feedback from previous experience or whatnot. Yes?
Bring in a technical consultant before any money is spent.
There you go. Bring in a technical consultant before any money is spent. You in the back.
I think a good thing to do is take a look at the site of what we can have access to and do a full analysis of whether or not he's being served directly. Meaning that there's a strong development, strong code on the site.
Right, so come in and take a look at the code, do an audit, do an analysis of standpoint of what's been done. Yeah. Well, what about at the beginning of the project? A client maybe comes in with money's no object, but he's got a really aggressive launch date and can't move from it. How do we serve this client in this particular process where, you have the budget to do what you have to do, but maybe there's just some decisions that have to be made from the consultant's end to better serve them? Yeah.
Does it help to, and I'm not a computer person, does it help to have them look at other sites and say, I like the way this looks, or I like the way this one functions, so that you have a dialogue about what they're thinking, and then you could say, well, that's okay, but that's not related to your business, or it's not related to what you're doing. I mean, just to get a dialogue going, what they want.
Yeah.
What they want. Then they can decide if they want it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you were saying, taking a look at other previous examples, getting a feel for what looks good and what works for them. Yeah, I think that's absolutely helpful. And, taking a step beyond that, understanding how their product or their idea fits into, reality, or as far as what's executable from that. Absolutely. Anybody else? One more? Blair.
I think just putting together a scoping and requirements document, with them because I've had clients that just say, oh, well, it should just work. It just seems intuitive to me, it should just work this way. And it's like, well, that's impossible, sorry.
Yeah.
And so, I think just getting a gauge as to what they're thinking in that time frame. If they've got an aggressive time frame, even if they've got a ridiculous amount of money, you may not be able to do it in that time frame. If they're asking for things that are just, they may seem, logical to the client, but if you look at it technically and you're like, well, that's impossible to do in that time frame, then you have to then kind of reset their expectations.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, getting more detailed and granular on all that stuff and setting their expectations is really helpful. Even, we're finding we've been involved with projects where we've got a non-technical founder that, again, launch date's aggressive, money's not a challenge, but we even have to set expectations. Maybe at what point we come into a project of saying, okay, this is the ground we're going to cover, and these are the things that we're going to deliver up to launch, and then what we would suggest doing is coming along an iterative process to provide better quality on the opposite side, because I think the founders we work with and the clients we work with, they're so focused on that launch date, but there is life beyond that launch date. The product can definitely get better beyond that, as we know from the consultant's end. But keeping it real, we kind of like this client a little better than the other do-it-yourselfer, right? We like the money thing, when they have a budget, we're willing to entertain those challenges, fortunately and unfortunately. And I just realized how we can kind of transfer this talk over into a therapy session for consultants, so which we'll be having over in the lounge after this. We should keep going here, actually. That's why I love to have the interactive talk, but I got to make sure we can get through this, so good stuff. So again, misconceptions, similar to the last. We think that since the budget's there, everything should work well, but we find that it's not always the case. Maybe, perchance, at what point we inherit a project, WordPress might not be the best option. I meant to duck behind this thing in case somebody throws something at me. Maybe it's not the best option. We've been on that side of it too. We love WordPress. We're trying to do WordPress as much as possible, just like many of you, but sometimes it's not the best option. And again, maybe somebody unqualified is setting expectations from the beginning, and at which point you're brought into the project, whether it's the start or the middle or whatever, it's really hard to gain trust in order to tell them. We've been a part of a process with a client that's brought us in. One of the companies that was actually hired to do the branding brought us in, but we realized they really misled the client on a lot of the user experience or a lot of the front-end design, in which case, not to fault them, it was just outside of their expertise. So we've had to do a lot of resetting of expectations even beyond launch date. So that's important for us to take notes of that and how to serve clients on that end too. So, what can we do as Rich's development company? We want to best guide and direct them on, what to choose based on how do we understand his challenge? How do we understand, his product? I think one of the missed things, if we're coming at it from a development standpoint, we need to go deeper with front-end design. Spend more time on the screens, spend more time on the user flow, getting into the technical work of design for user experience. Where does a user go? What are they intuitively supposed to do? How is the UI supposed to be balanced with the development? These are things that really can be helpful. And the last point here is a lot of us being on the consulting end, we might be strictly in development, or we might be more stronger on the development end. Look inside of your network for somebody who's maybe a great designer, understands front-end design really, really well, to partner with you on the project, because that expertise really help the platform, the experience overall for the client be much better. So, again, with these processes and helping these clients on either the end of do-it-yourselfer, where we're maybe building a product for them, or if we're doing some type of consulting for somebody who can hire us to do our services, it's important for us to think about what things we're missing. What are the details? What are the things that are important for the process, for the client to have a good experience working with us? Whether we're going to have a low-touch or a high-touch experience with them, it's important for us on this end to really be thinking about these things as we go. As we talked about in the beginning, user experience is not only just about visual design or anything to do with aesthetics whatsoever. User experience is the entire process that somebody has from start to finish, whether they're on the user side or the client side, or eventually on the end user side for a product. This is an important thing that we need to invite, or we need to learn about in our consulting business and what we do for our clients. So it's really important that we understand that well. In my slides, I included a couple really good articles that I found in putting this talk together that are really help with empathy, and one from WPMU that really helps with WordPress, that helps us be more informed on user experience and whatnot. So if you go to my blog, here's a cheap ploy for reading my blog. If you go to my blog at modeeffect.com, you could see the slide in there, and there's the links inside of my slide deck in there as well. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate talking with you today. Do we have time for any questions? Are we good? Do we have a little bit of time left over? Okay. Does anybody have any questions or feedback? I know some hands went up earlier, and I didn't want to shut you down. Yeah.
On the WordPress, one of the biggest challenges we have is, I think Tumblr, the panel is so much simpler. So a lot of people, when they get into WordPress, I know there's probably some plugins, because the interface, they get in there, they have no idea how to use it for non-technical users. So that's one of the challenges we have. We have to explain to them how to use it.
So just like a front end, clients are looking for more, just only a front end experience, nothing beyond
they log into the dashboard. They just want to put a page or a post, but they see all the other things, they can't.
Yeah.
These are very, very non-technical users.
Right. Yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, a lot of people go towards Squarespace, or even the Rainmaker.
Tumblr.
Yeah, Tumblr.
So is there a plugin that people have used that's very simple, that makes it a really simple dashboard for them?
The Rainmaker platform is a product by Copyblogger. They're looking to simplify the dashboard experience a little bit, so I'd check that out. It's set up for more do-it-yourselfer types. Any other questions or thoughts or concerns? Yes?
How would you suggest talking somebody off a ledge, they're making a bad idea or a bad choice early on in a project?
Like their whole idea is bad?
Well,
just stop before you start, man.
From personal experience, where I work, they spent some money on an idea that somebody had and didn't really have an idea of how it was going to actually accomplish the goals throughout the entire project. And I tried to warn them early on, but I wasn't very convincing.
Yeah, no, that's a difficult challenge, because especially dealing with the person who's been burned or whatnot, it's hard for them to really, earn their trust, to really influence them and tell them the right way to go. And I think that's not a challenge unique to you, that's a challenge unique to everybody. So, yeah, no, that's good. Well, hey, why don't we wrap up so you guys can get a good snack or something, not keep you in here. So thanks again. If you guys have any questions, I'll be up here for a little bit. So thanks so much.